Good morning, everyone. It's video 44. Today is draft day, and I have a few things on my mind that I'd like to talk about. No news as of yet in the NBA, but being that it's 2020, this is a big year. Everything's condensed. The draft is being sped up. The free agency process has been sped up rapidly. It's all happening in November instead of the summertime. So this is a very, very unique circumstance, very unique year. And yeah, Lakers won the championship about 10 minutes ago, and now we're already talking about the draft today. So yeah, this is what we got. I want to talk about Anthony Edwards, a comment that was alleged that he made about wanting to play, being someone who'd rather play football. Because he'd rather dance after touchdowns and things of that nature. 19-year-old kid who is not slick at all. Anthony, you're not low, bro. You ain't low. I know what you're trying to do. You got a lot of people believing that you don't want to play basketball. You got a lot of people believing that you don't have a passion for this game. And you say all of this on draft day. I know what you're doing. I don't blame you. But I just think that if you knew a little better, you would play the game differently. But what you're trying to accomplish, nobody's mad at you for that. This is a Steve Francis situation. This is somebody who knows he's probably going to Minnesota. They've probably given him a guarantee. And he don't want to go there. And he's trying to get his draft stock to fall. He doesn't want to go there. I'm pretty sure he wouldn't mind going to Golden State, but he knows Golden State is really probably not looking at him. They're probably looking at Wiseman or trading. Probably doesn't want to play in Charlotte. He looks at his next option. Probably doesn't want to play in Chicago. He looks at his next option. You see where we're going with this? This kid, Anthony Edwards, knows he's the consensus number 1, 2, 3 pick in this draft. Probably number 1 for sure. He don't want to go to these teams, dude. But what he has to understand is that when you get to the NBA, there's no guarantee you're going to stay where you're at. Remember Wiggins? He was drafted number 1 to Cleveland and was traded to Minnesota. This is the year where the draft pick, the first 3 draft picks could all be on the move. For all he knows, he's a Clipper by the end of the night. For all he knows, he plays for the Knicks by the end of the night. You just don't know where you're going to end up. But what you can be certain of is that you can ruin your reputation as somebody who is going to be willing to give it his all no matter where he is by saying things like this. And I think he knows that. If he wanted to play football, he could play football. He has the body for it. If he wanted to play football, I think football was available to him. I don't know if his family would allow him to play football. I know a lot of people's families are not really up on, not really big on kids playing that sport. So maybe he was refused that. Maybe he loved it. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know this kid like at all. So to speculate at this point is all I'm able to do. But what I can say is you're not low. I know what you're doing. Trying to drop that draft stock, young fella. You're trying to get the hell out of Minnesota before you ever get there. Because you know, just like everybody else knows, once you get drafted to a team, there's a good chance, especially if you're good, that you're going to be there for about 7 years. Why? Because that's the team that's going to be able to pay you the most. You get comfortable wherever you're at, even if it's a sucky situation. You get used to the routine. You get used to the surroundings. You get used to the circumstances. You find a girlfriend there or something. You're going to want to stay there for at least 7 years till you get paid. And that's half your career for a lot of guys, maybe more than. You don't want to be there. And I think the NBA has a problem on their hands. It's a problem they've always had. But I think it's a big problem at this point because players have more leverage these days. They have more power these days. And they are seeing people yield and wield that power in such a way. So they assume that that's what they're going to have going forward. And I heard Matt Barnes say something yesterday on one of the segments I watched, and he was just basically saying, he likes the fact that players have power, but they're probably using, I'm paraphrasing, but they're probably using it in a way that's going to make it so that when the collective bargaining agreement and negotiations take place, the owners are going to try to take some of that power back. And maybe in such a way that makes it so that it's even more difficult for them than it was in the past. So it would be wise with those who have power to understand the importance of divvying out some leeway to others so that you don't have people scheming to take the power from you, especially when you ultimately don't have leverage as ownership of these brands that you play for. So I think there's some wisdom in that. I think players would be wise to hear Matt Barnes in that. Just because you can does not mean you should. Just because you have a right does not mean you're right for doing so, et cetera, et cetera. Sometimes when you have the ability to be a quote unquote God, sometimes it's best to show grace so you can keep support. And at the end of the day, I just think that that's what the players are going to run into. And it's going to get ugly. It's going to get ugly come negotiation time because they're going to want to put a cap on some of this stuff that they're seeing that players are doing. Anthony Davis may have ruined the game in that regard because he was effectively able to push his way out of New Orleans. Force his way out of New Orleans. Then from there, I should say, he was able to go and win a championship in a big market, getting exactly what he wanted and getting the fruit from that. That set a blueprint in a lot of owners' minds that this is what they're going to have to deal with their best players. Now James Harden's trying to do the same thing. It's just like, no, when it's time for the negotiations to come around, they're going to try to do stuff to you guys to assure that whatever this power trip y'all own continues does not continue. whatever this is that y'all own, they're going to try to stop it. So I hope that we're wise enough as people to understand that you have to use responsibility and discretion. You have to have the entire scope of the landscape, past, present, and future in mind when you're doing certain things, especially if you've gained newfound power. Because you best believe as soon as you get it and start wielding it around like you don't know how to use it or like you ain't never had nothing, there are going to be people who are going to be sitting on the sidelines like, yep, we got a scheme for that. You bringing in Obama, we bringing in Trump. That's how this is going to go. So I hope we're ready for it as people support players because they got a Trump coming for our Obama, LeBron energy. You better believe it. So that's what I got to say about that. There will be a retort to all that. And, just as far as the players and stuff like that, look, Minnesota, if I'm you, I'm not taking Anthony Edwards. I don't care how much he fit. I'm trading that pick. I'm not taking that kid. You already had a situation with Wiggins that it didn't work out. Similar situation, similar draft height in terms of what you expect from him athletically. Those are similar players. Nah, this could be Andrew Wiggins all over again. And you guys aren't exactly the greatest team for cultivating young talent, especially if that young talent doesn't want to be where you're at. You don't have a history of doing that. You guys are not a great farm system team like that. You're not OKC like that. So if I were Minnesota, I would try to trade him for something that I think can help me. Keep Karl Towns, something that I think can help me keep D'Angelo Russell, because those are the players that are ultimately more likely to sign your next big contract. Anthony Edwards is going to find his way out of there if you draft him today. It's just going to happen. He's going to find his way out of there. And he, maybe you find a way to get him to love the place. Maybe you find a way to get him to fall in love with the culture. Maybe things change and they start winning. But because he's going in there with such a sour taste in his mouth and because he's so young, you're going to have a headache on your hands. Whoever that coach is, he's going to have a headache on his hands. Because he's going to have a kid that's not motivated to play, that doesn't want to be where he's at. And that's just not a good situation. The problem with Anthony Edwards is when you let your draft stock fall, you're going to lose guaranteed money. And there's no guarantee that you stay healthy. What if you have an injury of some sort? You fall all the way out the lottery, that money ain't even guaranteed. There's no guarantee you're going to find yourself in a good situation. And the NBA landscape changes every day. 2 years ago, the Golden State Warriors were favored to win the championship. Where were they last year? They were one of the worst teams in the league. Like, you don't know what your team is going to look like. You don't know who's going to do what. What did OKC look like going into last season? It looked like dog crap, right? Like they were going to have the top pick in the draft this year. They made the playoffs and got to the second round. You just don't know what the landscape's going to be. The Lakers were freaking in the lottery 2 years ago. What did we just do? We won the championship, my friend. So don't think you understand the NBA landscape, young players. Don't think you understand what your role is going to be. Because one player comes off of a team and suddenly the entire team dynamic changes and suddenly your role is completely the opposite of what they intended for you to be drafted with. If Karl Anthony Towns goes down, you know what kind of role you're going to have, Anthony Edwards? You're going to have opportunities to shine more so than probably any other rookie out there. So that's all I'm saying. Just put yourself in a position to understand that you have your dream coming true. And if this isn't your dream, life is is short, my man. Life is short. And you would not be the first player to quit basketball too early simply because you didn't love the sport. And know this, they have been guys who played long careers that were not happy. They made a lot of money, but they didn't love what they were doing because they had a passion for something else. I personally don't think just because you're great at something, you should stay at it if you hate it. I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. Now, every situation has its own unique circumstances, and there's an exception to every rule. Sometimes you have a responsibility to others. Sometimes you have a responsibility to a team source. Maybe you've made a word, you've given your word, and you want to keep that word, and that's more important to you than maybe being comfortable. You know, some people, circumstances are very different. But at the end of the day, if you hate something, like if you really, really don't like it, and you happen to excel in it, you're probably not doing yourself any favors by getting involved any further than you already have. You're just not. Find what you like to do so you don't be a nuisance to the people who are around you who love it. You're going to be a nuisance to the people you love it. You're going to snatch the love from the game for someone who loves it because of your bad energy about the game itself, because of your lack of focus and having so much talent. That creates a lot of angst in a locker room. When you're 10 times better than me and I'm putting in 10 times the work and you sitting here pissed off and I'm sitting here with a passion for it, nah, that's a bad situation waiting to happen. So all things considered, ain't no way I'm taking Anthony Edwards at this point. Not if I'm Minnesota. We're going to let him slide. We're going to let him slide. And it ain't got nothing to do with his talent or his upside. It has to do with his mentality and his desire to play for Minnesota. No way. And the next thing I want to say about this is the NBA has a problem on their hands. It's a problem they've always had, but it's a problem they need to address. And there's no solution to this. This is not a nice thing. I haven't found myself enjoying this thought as I've thought it. But the NBA would be wise to try to moonwalk out of some of these small markets. It would be wise. And I know that doesn't benefit everyone in the country. Everybody wants a team. Everybody feels they deserve a team. Everybody has the greatest town, city, land ever, according to them. So I get it. We all have pride in our hometowns and all that. But the NBA is a business. The NBA is 75 to 80% black. And the country is divided quite a bit. There are going to be certain places that NBA players are just not going to want to live. They're just not going to want to be there, man. You know this because we've been dealing with this as NBA fans and all of that forever. We've always had small markets. But I think, like I said, when you got this much power going into the players' hands and they're forcing their way out of this, forcing their way out of that, the cap is such a way that a lot of GMs don't understand it yet, don't really have the people in place to be experts for the number crunching and all that good stuff. When you have these type of things going on, it's hard to get players to either come to or stay long in any of these small markets. It's just hard. When you got the Lakers looming, you got the Clippers over there with another team in LA, you got Miami sitting there in the sunshine, you got the Knicks and the Nets in New York. You're just set to make more money in these bigger markets. And I know some people say, well, social media has erased that. No, it has not. That's a lie. No, social media has not taken away the luster of sunshine, my friends. It has not taken away the draw of Nike paying you twice as much to play for bigger markets. No. One of the reasons why James Harden wants to get the hell out of Houston and into Brooklyn is because he knows he can make buku money in New York. He knows that. You're going to make a lot more money that way. And it just is what it is, man. They got to moonwalk. They got to find a way to smooth walk away from small cities, bro. You don't want to be there no more, NBA. I don't care if you have to have 3 teams in Miami and 4 in LA. That's what's required to keep this thing going and get the maximum out of it. Plus, you want to cut down on all this damn traveling anyway. You saw how much of a success the bubble was when the players didn't have to do all that traveling. It probably is best that you don't have to go everywhere. It really is. I do believe, and this sucks for the country, but a lot of these small market teams should be moving to big markets. They should. Over the next 30 years, it's not going to be a fast process, but over the next 30 to 35 years, you need to get teams out of this city, that city. I'm not going to name them because that's messed up, but that city, that city, that city, that city. I can think about 7 teams that need to be moved to bigger markets. About 7 of them. And it is your solution. It's your solution to a lot of your problems, NBA. It cuts down on the traveling. You can cut down on the games. You can cut down on how many players don't want to be where they're at. Guys will stay in teams longer, sign longer deals. I mean, it just is what it is. As long as you got teams over there in that cold spot, and you got teams over there in that place that's considered a cow town, and you got teams over there in that place where it's just nothing, just land to look out. Yeah, I can buy a nice home for like $20 and fill it up with all the finest of stuff because I'm rich. But guess what? I'm still going outside in the cold, bro. I'm going outside in the cold. I'm sitting up, I'm looking around. I don't see nobody look like me. I don't see nothing that looks like comfort zone for me. I'm thousands of miles away from where I want to be, which is home or wherever it is I would rather live. Nah. And the season, in theory, if it's done correctly without COVID, lasts about what? 7 months, however long the season is. I mean, it's a long time for a young millionaire to be in a place he don't want to be at. And that's just assuming he's there for one season, which in most cases is not the case. So, yeah, no, I don't blame kids, especially a 19-year-old kid who don't want to live somewhere for not wanting his stock to be as high just because it keeps him in situations he don't want to be in. Why would I be mad at that? The kid is doing what he sees his big brothers doing, which is controlling their destiny and sending themselves where they want to go. And he also saw what they went through when they was youngsters, like LeBron being the best player anybody has ever seen, arguably, being stuck on a bad Cleveland team for half his career. If he'd have been with a Laker the whole time, you know how many rings LeBron James would have had? Come on, man. Part of the problem was being in Cleveland, having that great talent stuck in a team that isn't historically good for keeping talent, isn't historically good for making good decisions, isn't historically good for winning, isn't historically good for having glamorous locale, to say the least. Okay? And most importantly, it's too much pressure on a guy like LeBron James, a guy like Giannis, et cetera, to literally keep the economy going in some of these cities that really don't have anything else going on there. And they're getting guilt tripped out the backside because they want to leave a place they don't want to be in, simply because if they leave, they take a fourth of the economy with them. What? So now LeBron James is getting called all this and that by the owner of the team because guys are going to lose their jobs because that revenue leaves, because LeBron James as a draw is no longer there. So now moms and pop shops all over the city don't have that draw to bring money and all of this stuff, and everybody goes broke and it's LeBron's fault. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Nah. NBA, no. That was wrong. That was always messed up. That was always a system that shouldn't be. That's greed. That's greed. And in a deeper level, that's you using the backs of athletes' backs to fund your various little bitty towns, which doesn't look good historically, to say the least. Do I need to paint the picture for what that looks like to all of us? It don't feel good. It don't look good. And most importantly, it is not what they signed up for to be basketball players. It's not to fund your town. Sorry. It's not to fund your town. No. If a guy want to get the hell out of Cleveland, he should be able to leave Cleveland without any issues. He shouldn't be stuck there because he's a millionaire. Sorry. I'm sorry. And a lot of people say, well, they make millions of dollars. They should be happy. No. Money ain't never made a person happy. If you still believe money makes you happy, you haven't been paying attention. No. Happiness makes you happy. Money is just a part of it. With that being said, thank you guys for watching. My name is BDF44. I'm pretty sure I'll be making more videos throughout the day, but that was just something I had to get off my chest. Anthony, I don't blame you, but you're not low, bro. You're not low. They know what you're doing. We all know what you're doing. You're trying to get out of it, and I don't blame you. But there are ways to go on about things, and I don't think this is the way you want to go about this. Telling people that you don't have much of a motor for basketball is not a good thing. It's going to affect you for a very long time. It's not going to affect you just tonight. That's going to affect you for the rest of your career. That's a quote that people are going to be saying when the playoffs come around 6 years from now and you don't make the shot. Well, he wanted to play football. He said that on draft night. He don't even love the game. They're gonna run you through the mud, especially if you're very good. Guys like Skip Bayless going to bring that crap up at least twice a day. Don't make any more statements like that, youngsters. Don't do it. It will follow you. These people are relentless. This media crap, these talking heads, and I'm going to include myself, we are relentless. Don't do it to yourself. My name is BDL44. I'm out.